Coming up on Falcon Weekly, counting down to election 2012, we'll show you how the candidates spent their last day on the campaign trail.
4 years since America last cast their vote to re-elect a new leader. Coming up, I talked to one professor here on campus that talks about just how important this election is.
Plus, in Sandy's aftermath, see how a beer company is switching production from beer to water to help survivors of the storm.
And UN police have identified the person responsible for killing cats on campus. We'll update you on the case. All this and more on this week's Falcon Weekly.
Welcome into Falcon Weekly. I'm Coleman Sears.
And I'm Ashley Rogers. Thanks so much for joining us. As the race comes to a close, President Obama and Governor Romney are blanketing the battleground states to persuade undecided voters.
Reporter John Howe shows us how the president spent his last day campaigning.
The president began the final day of the campaign in a big way with Bruce Springsteen in Wisconsin, his voice hoarse from the relentless campaigning. The president vowed to fight back against what he called the status quo in Washington.
And over the last 4 years, that status quo has fought us every step of the way. They spent millions trying to stop us from reforming the healthcare system. Spent millions trying to prevent us from reforming Wall Street.
Springsteen is along for the ride with the president all day, with stops in Ohio and Iowa later. Mitt Romney meets up with Kid Rock later tonight. This morning, the candidate pitched his own message of change at his first stop of the day, Florida.
1 day away from the first day of a new beginning. My conviction is that better days are ahead, and it's not based on promises or rhetoric, but it's based on solid plans.
Romney's other stops include Virginia and Ohio before ending the day in New Hampshire. The breakneck pace of this final day highlights the razor-thin margins in the presidential race. A USA Today Gallup poll of voters in 12 key battleground states shows President Obama and Mitt Romney both tied at 48%.
After months of hard work and campaigning across the country, tomorrow will tell whether Republican Mitt Romney will be the president-elect. But on this election eve, the race is too close to call. Reporter Sandra Indo shows us how Romney is making his final appeal to voters.
Tomorrow is a moment to look into the future and imagine what we can do to put the past 4 years behind us.
Real change from day one. That's what Mitt Romney is promising voters in his final pitch of this election season.
You hope that President Obama would live up to his promise to bring people together and to solve problems. He hasn't. I will.
The Republican and his running mate keeping a frenetic pace on the home stretch, making sure voters know where they stand and what they will do differently.
What we see now is an administration and a presidency littered with broken promises. The deficit's doubled. It's the most partisan atmosphere we've seen in decades. He didn't bring people together, he divided people.
Both tickets spent the last hours of the campaign battling it out for battleground state bragging rights. They made monumental final pushes in Ohio. The state and its 18 electoral votes have proven to be pivotal in past elections. Polls show it's a statistical dead heat.
Polls don't decide elections, voters do. I think Ohioans vote with their wallets. That's why I think Romney's going to win on Tuesday.
At this late stage, Romney's biggest obstacle may not be coming from the competition, but rather from Mother Nature.
The hurricane is what broke Romney's momentum. Any day that the news media is not talking about jobs and the economy, taxes and spending, deficits and debt, Obamacare and energy is a good day for Barack Obama.
Before you head to the polls tomorrow, there's some information that you need to know. Plus, students' plans for the election. Falcon Fever's Jolene Hanna joins us live in the newsroom with more. Jolene?
Hours away, I got a chance to go out and talk to some students on campus about the election and their voting plans. For many students on campus, the election is a very important issue, and they plan to go out and vote in tomorrow's election.
And I really think it's important if you have the opportunity to vote, if you're eligible to do so, because whoever you vote for is going to be the person who's running your country for the next 4 years. A lot of countries don't give women and students our age the opportunity.
I plan on voting. I think it's you know, it's our civic duty. I mean, that's what the troops put their lives on the lives for. You know, that's the least we can do to, you know, make sure our voice is heard. You know, to me, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice.
For any questions you might have about tomorrow's election, you can go to the website www.alabamavotes.gov, where you can find your voting location, view ID requirements, and view sample ballots. Tomorrow, the polls will be open from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening, so remember to go out and cast your vote. This is Jolyn Hannah reporting for Falcon Weekly.
In the last election, the college vote played a key role in the outcome. Falcon Weekly's Casey Beasley tells us why their vote will continue to do the same this year.
Just walking into the history building on campus will get you excited about America. That's why this vote tomorrow is so important. I got a chance to sit down with political science professor Dr. Carl Dorfler and talk about the importance of the college age in this election.
Well, I mean, just in general, college students tend to be more idealistic and hopeful and optimistic, more trusting of human nature, you know, and so in general, a lot of those things lead them to lean left. You know, quite frankly, college-age students are a fascinating group. They tend to be, depending on the person, you know, but, you know, they tend to be thoughtful, compared to people their age. So they can perhaps vote what is in everybody's interests more than their own economic interest. And that's why I think the college-age vote is a fascinating vote to capture.
Although the outcome of our state's vote might already be clear, there are many states that it is still undecided in.
Well, the swing states are ultimately going to decide the outcome. And so they're a huge deal. And back in 2004, again, you read different things, you hear different things, but apparently, near as I can piece together, in 2004, the vote in college towns was intentionally suppressed in Ohio, and stories came out of certain areas in Ohio where they had colleges where there were lines like 12 hours long in the polling places. And again, that appears to have been done to decrease turnout among the young and also liberals who tend to congregate in college towns a lot of the time.
So it doesn't matter what age you are, your vote is still important. So get out and vote tomorrow. For Falcon Weekly, this has been Casey Beasley reporting.
Remember that the polls in Alabama are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For more information about voting in tomorrow's election, go to alabamavote.gov.
Still ahead, for many of us, just thinking about math can give us a headache. We'll tell you about a study that found that working math problems can cause you physical pain.
Plus, a tanker truck explodes and burns for 15 hours. We'll tell you what police say caused the accident. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly.
Many Montevallo students are resting easy now that there has been a suspect identified in the campus cat killings.
University President Dr. John Stewart sent a broadcast email last Wednesday saying that the suspect was banned from campus and was not a UM resident. The suspect's name has not been released and there have been no arrests. The case has since been turned over to the district attorney's office.
In national news, the Pittsburg Zoo is closed today after a young boy died in a wild dog exhibit Sunday. Officials say a 3-year-old boy was killed after he fell 14 feet into the pen with African painted dogs. The dogs became very aggressive and attacked the boy before zookeepers could scare them off. A police officer shot and killed one of the dogs. African painted dogs are an endangered species.
Police in Washington State say drunk driving led to a deadly tanker explosion Sunday. The fire burned for more than 15 hours. The 68-year-old driver of the tanker truck died at the scene and 4 other people were injured. Police have arrested a 21-year-old who is suspected of drunk driving. They said that the driver crashed into a road barrier and then was hit by another car, and that's when the tanker slammed into both cars and exploded. The tanker was carrying over 9,000 gallons of aviation gasoline Experts say there are no immediate health concerns to residents nearby.
A week after Superstorm Sandy hit the Northeast, the signs of damage are still very clear. The East Coast is still littered with debris, as seen here in New York's Rockaway Beach. Other parts of the coast are practical junkyards, with debris piles higher than cars in the street. The death toll reached 179, 47 of which were from New York State. With the damage so widespread, Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano says the #1 concern is housing. New York's mayor says up to 40,000 people may be in need of shelter. Staten Island, New York was hit very hard by Superstorm Sandy last week. The island was to be the starting district for the New York City Marathon, but instead the race was canceled. However, runners that planned to participate in the annual race showed up to deliver supplies to relief centers in the area. They also took some donations door to door.
One Georgia beer plant is pitching in to help the survivors of Hurricane Sandy by donating thousands of cans of water. The cans normally used to hold the beer will now provide water to thousands affected by the storm. Reporter Richard Elliott has our story.
Normally, these cans are full of beer. Not now. Now they are full of water, emergency drinking water that's shipped up to the disaster area.
Personally, for me, it does mean a little bit more because I do have family that have been affected by it.
Bale says it's a pretty easy process switching over from beer to water, and it took only about 8 to 12 hours to do it once they got the call. Employee Sam McElveen isn't from Jersey. He's from Floyd County, but he still feels a sense of satisfaction being able to help.
It makes us feel great. You know, a lot of people don't have opportunities to help, so we look at this as actually an opportunity to help.
The federal government doesn't buy these water cans. Anheuser-Busch donates them for free, something the company says it's been doing for more than 100 years.
We have a long history of supporting relief efforts, especially in times of disaster. And emergency water is something that our company is uniquely positioned to be able to do.
Scott Bale is awfully glad they do and that he can be a part of it.
And they understand what's at stake. They know that we're doing this to help people out, and they're just more than happy to jump on and help folks up.
Still ahead, it's no secret that political campaigns can get downright ugly, oftentimes looking like a knockdown, drag-out fight. We'll show you how the battle for the White House has been turned into a video game.
And it looks like the Force will be with us once again. Learn why the Star Wars franchise is heading back to the big screen, coming up after the break. Welcome back to Falcon Weekly.
Over the past year, the political candidates have been playing games with you, but now you're able to play games with the candidates. Correspondent Karen Caffey has more.
Leaping from state to state, firing shots along the way, the final Battleground Blitz has all the elements of a great video game.
All right, we're getting fired up now. Yeah.
The number of politically themed games has tripled since 2004, according to the Entertainment Software Association. In 2012, it's an opportunity to vent some political passion and have some fun.
Before you know it, you can be pelting your opponent with a lightsaber or a hot dog or marshmallows or what have you. Just good fun, just venting.
Among the animated characters and exaggerated jabs, games like Political Machine 2012 let players craft a stump speech and maybe learn a thing or two about the issues. Race for the White House 2012 sends players through the same hurdles as the real candidates, and the games can also capture the attention of a key demographic.
A lot of these games also engage folks in voter registration to help make sure they're part of the political process and not left out.
Like Vote, the game from Epic Games, which partnered with Rock the Vote. So after virtual political combat, players can register to vote in the real election. I'm Karen Catha, and you're now clicked in.
The popular movie streaming website Netflix has been continuously upsetting customers since their price hike last year. However, their most recent move may win over users. Netflix recently adopted a stockholder rights plan, or as Netflix is labeling, a poison pill. This plan is designed to prevent activist shareholders from launching a hostile takeover. It would kick in if an individual or group acquires 10% or more Netflix shares without approval from Netflix's board. If that happens, Netflix can now use a technical maneuver to flood the market with new shares and make a takeover very expensive. The defensive move is a direct response to notorious corporate radar Carl Icahn, who bought a 10% stake in the company last year.
Disney is about to head to a galaxy far, far away. The media giant has acquired Lucasfilms from movie legend George Lucas, which includes the Star Wars franchise. Disney shelled out $4.5 billion on the deal. Lucas says the money will be donated to improving education. Disney, who also owns ESPN, Pixar, Marvel, and ABC News, will acquire full ownership of Lucasfilm along with its holdings, which include LucasArts, Industrial Light and Magic, and Skywalker Sound. Disney looks to further the Star Wars franchise by slating the release of Star Wars 7 in 2015. Lucas says he will also stay on as a creative consultant.
Coleman, are you feeling okay?
I don't know. I might be, though. We'll see. But it's time to see the doctor, tech doctor that is, Matt Sanderlin.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to this week's Tech Check. I'm Matt Sanderlin. I've got Michael Artress here with me today. We're going to be discussing Apple's latest product, the iPad mini. It came out last week officially, and as you can see behind us, it looks exactly like the original iPad, but I guess significantly smaller. They both do the same things. They run the same operating system and the same apps. It's literally just a screen size difference. But from what you've seen of it, what do you think about it so far?
To be honest, I feel like I'm paying for an oversized iPhone without any of the phone capabilities. So as a user, I'm not too happy about that.
I can agree with that for sure. Because I guess the size is good for convenience sake. If you want to be able to do, like word processing and some of the bigger like iPad stuff, but for the most part, it is exactly the same as an iPod Touch, has a bigger iPad. It's the same basic principle. And right now, I think the only versions they have that are available are the Wi-Fi versions. The 4G versions are coming pretty soon, but they start at $329, and they're out now. You can order them from Apple's website. So, but yeah, thanks for checking in with us here at Tech Check. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Matt. And now, Mandy Hawkins joins us for weather.
Sandy devastated the northeastern states last week. How are things looking, Mandy?
Well, many people are now back in their homes after being evacuated, but some towns were just hit too hard. Let's take a look at some pictures. These shots are before and after aerials of some of the places that got hit the worst by Hurricane Sandy. As you can see, the places become almost unrecognizable. The buildings most impacted are the ones located close to the beach, and most of these buildings are completely destroyed. And Red Cross is taking donations for the survivors impacted by the superstorm. And so now let's take a look at some of our local weather. Over in Alabama, it's cooled off a little bit. Tonight we have a high of 66 and our lows getting down to around 47. And Tuesday's supposed to be cold and rainy with a high of 59. And there's going to be a 30% chance of rain, so you might want to bring an umbrella with you. And on Wednesday, we have a high of 61 and a low of 38. And Thursday, we're looking at a high of 62. And Friday, it gets a little warmer with a high of 68 and a low of 40. And Saturday, it's going to be our warmest day of the week, and it's going to get up around 70, and the low is going to be down in the 40s. So it's going to be a really nice day, and that's going to continue to Sunday, where we'll have a temperature of 68 degrees. And that's all for the weather. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mandy. Lots of people get a headache when they think about balancing their checkbook or figuring out how to split the check at a restaurant. But can math actually hurt you?
A new study suggests that anxiety caused by common math problems could lead to physical pain. Researchers at the University of Chicago found people solving tough equations showed the same brain activity linked to the sensation of pain. The study showed greater results for those people who admit having a fear of math.
Joseph Antonio joins us for a look ahead at this week's sports.
What have you got for us this week, Joseph?
We've got big news for men's soccer and women's cross country. Plus, we'll take a look at Alabama's rally in the Valley when Falcon Weekly comes back. Hello, I'm Joseph Antonio, and here's a look at this week's sports. The University of Montevallo men's soccer team has reached the summit yet again after an impressive 4-1 victory over USC Aiken in the Peach Belt Conference Tournament Championship game, which was held November 4th at Blanchard Woods Park. The victory marks the fourth conference tournament title in school history and its first since 2010. Freshman Pierre Omanga, who was named the tournament's most valuable player, led Montevallo with 2 goals in the conference title match. Junior Gary O'Neill and Pedro Canario each added a goal apiece to complete the scoring. O'Neill and his fellow Falcon teammates, Brandon Ledgway and Mike Renzema, joined Omega on the all-tournament team this year as well. The Falcons will await the release of the final NCAA Division II Southeast Region rankings, which are due out this evening at 6 p.m. This will determine the teams that advance to the Division II men's soccer tournament. Good luck, guys. Switching gears to cross country, Montevallo senior Kaylee Glover will compete in the NCAA Division II National Championship race after claiming the individual title at the Southeast Region 6K race November 3rd. Glover claimed the individual championship with a time just over 22 minutes and 40 seconds. Glover's time is the 3rd fastest 6K time in school history. Glover will compete in the national championship race as an individual. Falcon Fever anchor Casey Beasley got a chance to talk to Glover after her big win.
I still don't believe it, to be honest. Across the line, the first thing I asked my mom was, did I really just win the race? And she told me, yeah. It's just weird because no one expected me to win it. Like, it was crazy going through the run and having all the people cheer for me, like people I don't even know. People from the conference were cheering for me. It's just kind of crazy. It feels weird, especially for it to be my senior season.
Well, talk about all the hard work you've put in over the past few years to get this far.
Definitely a lot of hard work. Luckily, I have great teammates to work with. We all run workouts together. Haley Evans, the other senior, she's been awesome to work with because she's probably a harder worker than I am. And so I always just have her to work with in workouts and runs. We're always together.
Well, what are you doing to prepare for the national race?
At this point, there's not much I can do to actually better myself. All the training we've already done is what's going to help me. So at this point, it's just kind of maintaining it and doing what I've been doing, taking care of myself.
Well, like you said, you're a senior. What's it like to be a part of this team because y'all have done so well over the past few years as a senior?
It's great. Last year we won conference. This year, Haley and I both won Runner of the Year, to win regionals. It's been great. I'm so glad I chose Montevallo because I don't think this would have happened at any other school.
Well, good luck, and thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
You can see more of the interview with Kaylee Glover this Wednesday on Falcon Fever. In other campus sports news, the University of Montevallo volleyball team fell to visiting Flagler College 3-1 in a Peach Belt Conference match November 3rd at Bank Trust Arena. The Falcons will close out their regular season with 3 matches this weekend. Their next game will be November 9th at Bank Trust Arena when they host Francis Marion University in a Peach Belt Conference match at 7 p.m. For more Montevallo sports and analysis, tune in every Wednesday night to Falcon Fever. On Saturday night, the Alabama Crimson Tide and LSU Tigers gave all of us a game for the ages in what is already being considered an instant classic. Facing the most difficult and intimidating of challenges, Alabama rallied in the final minute and a half to defeat the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge 21-17. On the Tide's last offensive possession of the game, McCarron, who had struggled much of the night, showed plenty of pluck and grit and may have forever writ his name in crimson flame when he hit freshman phenom TJ Yeldon on a screen pass that went 28 yards for the game's winning score. The Tide will face another major test next week at home against Texas A&M. A victory will ensure the Tide a trip to Atlanta on December 1st for the conference championship game. Finally, some good news for Auburn fans this weekend as the Tigers ended their 5-game skid with a 42-7 win over the New Mexico State Aggies. The game marked the debut of freshman quarterback Jonathan Wallace, who got by with a little help from his friends, Trey Mason and Ontario McCaleb, who both rushed for over 100 yards apiece and combined for 3 touchdowns. The Tigers face number 7 Georgia at home this Saturday at 7 p.m. Lastly, in the world of college football, Kentucky head coach Joker Phillips will join the ranks of the unemployed this week after being fired this past weekend after an embarrassing 40-0 loss at the hands of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Kentucky is currently 1-9 and 0-7 in SEC play. Phillips will coach for the duration of the season. And that's a look at sports.
Well, thanks, Joseph. Many of us know what it means to see the Hot Now sign lit up at Krispy Kreme.
Lots of people around the country ate a donut today to celebrate National Doughnut Day. These tasty treats were first made by the Dutch, and while they didn't have a hole in the center, they were fried in hot oil like in modern times. Last year, more than 200,000 donuts were sold in the U.S. alone. That's all the time we have for you this week.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next time. And remember, go cast your vote.